Hi everybody, hello and welcome. As always, I am Sean, this is In The Mixer, and a slightly different video today because we are announcing our main save for the full release of Football Manager 2019, due for release on the 2nd of November this year. There's been a ton of different Football Manager news throughout the course of this week. A whole bunch of different features were announced on the Football Manager Twitter account. Some really interesting things. I was actually going to do a reactions video, and then by the time I recorded it, went back to edit it, went to upload it, there was already about probably 4,000 different reaction videos to the features that are coming out. There's some good stuff in it, some mediocre stuff, I think, in terms of they've just moved stuff around and are claiming that it's real changes. There's a ton of purple that you probably already heard. I like purple, it's my favorite. A lot of the channel artwork is in purple, so it suits me just fine. There are some really cool things in terms of like integrating what's happening in the real world of football at the moment, using references to actual tactics like gig and press and tiki-taka, catenaccio, the vertical tiki-taka, which you'd call kind of like Sari ball at the moment. So like those sort of improvements I love. There's still a couple more things that I'd really like to see. I'd like to see improvements to the graphics for regen faces. I actually turn regen faces off because I think they look stupid. There is some awesome work being done in the community to improve things like that, but you would like to see Football Manager as the actual maker of the game try and make a few changes there. I still think they need to announce, some tweaks to the match engine itself and how it works. Some more goalkeeper animations would be great. I know they expanded that greatly last year with the last release of the game, but I do still think it's lacking. I feel like certain shots at certain heights, there just isn't an animation for the keeper to be able to get. So it'd be good to see an improvement in that respect. I was a bit disappointed that they didn't announce a Battle Royale mode, which is in vogue for pretty much every game that's getting released at present. But some really exciting things happening in that space. And for me, the hype train left the station on this game months and months and months ago. But hopefully for a lot of people that have been watching this content or haven't really played the game for a while or are looking to get back into it, they're really excited by a lot of the things that have been announced. I think there's some cool stuff in. Even though I can be negative, I do think there's some really cool stuff in there. And it'll be super interesting to see what else comes out in the next couple of weeks as we get closer and closer to the release of the beta save in a couple of weeks, and also the full version of the game as well. So enough about the game itself. In a previous video highlighting future channel plans and things, I did already outline that I'd be doing a lower league management save within England. Now, I've always loved this save type. I consistently go back to it when I'm recording my own content or starting a new series. I've had great memories of working with teams like Blythe Spartans in, I think, Football Manager 2012, going all the way through to the Champions League. I had the likes of Suso, a Spanish ex-Liverpool youngster, Ross Barkley, a Swedish striker from Blackburn named Filip Pivkovski, who has disappeared from the game entirely. And even though that was a save that I did 7 years ago now, it has still stuck with me as being one of my favourites of all time. I've worked with FC United recently, Boston United, Stockport County when they first got relegated. For a while I picked teams on the best kits, and I always thought Dover Athletic had an amazing kit. I had like this 3 or 4 year run where the team that I picked in game and played as and took all the way through to the Premier League actually got promoted in real life that season. So it happened with Dover, it happened with Eastleigh, it happened with Bromley. And for the last few years I've been playing as FC United, and it hasn't happened for them yet, but fingers crossed, maybe this is the season that they actually go up into the higher divisions. So the team that I intended to use for Football Manager 2019 has changed about 15 times. What I initially intended to do, if we look at this graphic here, was pick from the teams that are closest to where I live in Melbourne in Australia. So applying that principle, the 3 options we had were Eastbourne Borough, who are 16,895 kilometres away, Torquay United, who are 17,163 kilometres away, and Truro City, who are 17,273 kilometres away. So not massive distances, they're all around that 17,000 kilometre mark. And I was having a look at the stories for each of the club. Eastbourne Borough have been in and around the Vanarama South for a good few years. They're always kind of around that middle of the table playoff spaces kind of area, but have never really had that side or that push or that financing to get up into the Conference National. They're in a cool area where football is growing and expanding. They're not far from Brighton, which is obviously an area that football is growing quite a bit, with Brighton making it into the Premier League and managing to stay up. Torquay United is a club that has been involved in league football previously and have been relegated back down into the Vanarama South. I joined a couple of different fan pages and things like that to see what teams were like at that level. And the Torquay United fans believe that they're currently playing in a Tin Pot League and that they'll be back out of it within 12 months. I don't think the season started that well for them, but they've got a phenomenal stadium, really well resourced. They are, I think, a professional team playing at that level. I like their kit, I like their logo. A lot of cool things happening in that area, but what I thought was the most interesting save was that of Truro City. So Truro City are currently a homeless football club. They are playing their home games 200 kilometres away at Torquay United's ground. They sold Treyu Road, their initial stadium, which is going to be turned into a shopping centre with an Audi and a couple of other things in it. Their chairman, Pete Masters, took control of the club a few years ago to save them from going into administration and essentially folding. With his own money, he has paid the player wages, he's paid rental on that particular ground, and the only way really for that club to exist financially and have a future within those divisions and be able to build on was by selling up the current facilities that they had, getting the revenue from that and putting it into what is a project called Stadium for Cornwall, which will be a joint rugby and football facility in Cornwall. They don't currently have their own elite level football stadium within that county. It is largely a rugby based area, and Truro are the highest ranked football team within Cornwall itself. So the fact that they don't currently have a home, the fact that they're playing their home games 200 kilometres away from their actual town, and the struggles that they have getting people to go and play in the southwest, I thought that was going to be a really interesting save and one that I would go forward with. But then something pretty fantastic happened. If we have a look at the video here on the Football Manager channel. Okay, so this is actually on the Football Manager Twitter account, and you can go and have a look at it whenever you like. So business development, talking to Miles Jacobson, who is the boss at Sports Interactive and one of the main people around Football Manager. Speaking with Spencer Owen, who is the chairman of #United, signing a sponsorship deal for them, which means that they will be the official club partner of #United, and that they'll also be the front of shirt sponsor. If we have a look at this image here, you can see that sharp looking Adidas goalkeeper kit, and the yellow kit in the background is their home kit with Football Manager sprawled across the front of it. So #United are a club chaired by Spencer Owen, who for a very long time had a YouTube channel called Spencer FC. Initially they were a team that just played their games on YouTube. They would go and play friendlies against other sides. They would go and play teams put together of other content creators. From those friendlies, they'd film the actual games themselves, they'd film training sessions, they'd film different challenges with the players involved, they'd put them up on their YouTube account, and very quickly they got a whole bunch of different followers, be it on Twitter, Instagram, whatever else. They've played groups made up of comedians, journalists, ex-Premier League players. I think they've travelled to different countries and played company teams for the likes of Google, Coca-Cola, and a bunch of other people. They've been a key component in the last few years of the Wembley Cup, which is an invitational cup competition held at Wembley Stadium. Both Spencer FC and now #United have both won that competition. And in only a few short years, they've created a massive social media following, created an entire brand that is relatively recognisable and has been integrated into games like the EA Sports FIFA series, now into Football Manager as well. And for the next portion of their growth and what they refer to as Chapter 2, they have entered the English Football League structure. So the English Football League structure is chaotic, it is a mess. Within the Football Manager community, there are databases that go all the way down to level 22 in that particular structure. And if we have a look here at this Wikipedia page, you can kind of see all the teams and clubs that are involved at various levels. It is absolutely phenomenal to look at. Hopefully one day football in Australia gets to this level. We're not quite there yet. But for #United, they have joined the Eastern Counties League Division 1 South, which you can see here with 20 clubs. So this level of football has undergone a big restructure in the last 12 to 18 months, with a whole bunch of different clubs entering the competition with the idea that they get them all to be level. And you can kind of see here it's balancing out nicely. So level 9 has pretty much 20 clubs in most of the divisions. Level 8, 20 clubs across the board. 7 has 22 clubs. 6 has 22 clubs. 24, 24, 24, 24, and 20 in the Premier League. So they're really trying to balance out that structure and the different levels of that program. And in conjunction with that, it was a perfect time for #United to go from being an amateur side that played occasional exhibition and friendly matches and uploaded them to YouTube to being a semi-professional outfit, joining the actual English Football League structure and starting to, build on their momentum and build on their fan base and move up throughout that pyramid, fingers crossed, as quickly as possible. So in joining the Eastern Counties League Division 1 North, they had to register for that competition, get all their players registered. They've appointed a full-time manager in Jay Devereaux, who has been involved at football at that level and as high as the Vanderham South with East Thurrock. They have an assistant manager / player, Neil Richmond, a physio, Steve Carmichael Brown, who I believe is the father of Spencer Owen. They've signed some great players from different clubs around that level and at higher divisions as well. And they've started the season relatively well. They had a few losses, a few draws early on, but now they've started to pick up momentum, and I think they've won now 7 games in a row, which is a phenomenal return for a club that essentially is playing its first season together and as a group. Now, they still don't own their stadium. They are currently ground sharing with another team at Coles Park Stadium in Tottenham. They have pretty decent branding. I think their logo is great and obviously instantly recognizable. They have long-term kit deals secured with Adidas, long-term sponsorship secured with Football Manager. It's really exciting to see a club coming into a game at this level. You know, their Twitter page, their Instagram, their YouTube channel, really they're operating a lot of these pages at levels higher than a lot of Premier League clubs and showing that if you give players access to these mediums, how quickly a club can grow. So 410,000 subscribers to their YouTube channel alone. We've got 175,000 followers on Twitter. I think their Instagram has over 500,000 followers. I think for a club playing at the 10th level of the English league structure, they're doing things better in terms of social media and fan interaction and access to players than a lot of Premier League sides playing at the very top in a professional environment where they probably have full-time staff working very hard on this stuff all throughout the day. Over the past 12 months, there's been some phenomenal content put together for teams around a similar level. I think Dr. Benji's Thames FC series has been the greatest YouTube Football Manager series anyone has ever done. Lelujo or Kevin has done a great series with Nuneaton Borough where he's actually gone out to their ground and recorded stuff with that team, filmed stuff at their training sessions, at their games, with their players, with the chairman, with the coaching staff, and integrated that into his actual series as he's taking them through to the Champions League. So I myself reached out to a couple of different teams at that level. Not that I'm going to be able to travel to any of those places, they're in an entirely different country on the other side of the world, but I sent out emails to Torquay United, to Truro City, to Hashtag United, and Hashtag United actually got back to me within about 45 minutes. Their business development manager, at a time when they really could have said no, like we want to focus our own content on our own channel, they were completely supportive of any content that I create that uses their logo or that uses their team or seeing how far I can take them within Football Manager, and I think that means a lot. I think some people are very protective about their brand and how it works and don't want to have that interaction, but the ideas that they have about integrating as many followers and as many fans as possible and getting as much Hashtag United content out there and brand recognition and things like that, not just through their own channel but through other people participating in their games, in their series and in their partnerships with Football Manager, is fantastic. But for them to give me approval and to want to see the content and to want to be kept up to date of any graphics that we might make, of any videos we may put forward, of anything like that, I think is tremendous and a credit to them. So that was really the last little nudge that I needed to commit to using them as the team that I'm going to do for my main save in Football Manager 2019. There is a slight little snag with that. Under its current structure, and I haven't seen any announcement that would lead me to believe that this would change in any way, the English League structure is only within Football Manager down to level 6. The National League North and South, or the Vanarama North and South, if you played at that level before. And Hashtag is going to be all the way down in level 10. It means that there's 44 different divisions that need to be integrated into that system across the remaining tiers through a custom database. So what I've done is I've reached out to the FM editor, whose Twitter account you can see here. His name's Steve. He does some phenomenal work with custom databases. They work phenomenally well. I've used them before. Some of them I think are short a couple of downloads before getting to 500,000 downloads globally across a couple of different versions of the game itself. He does really great work, and if you can, please go and check out his Twitter page. Go and check out some of the content that he's made. Keep an eye out for his Twitch, his YouTube, all that sort of stuff. And I support him on Patreon. I would recommend that everybody else goes and does that as well, so that he can continue making the phenomenal databases and custom things that he puts together every year. So for this, he's actually going to put together an English level 10 database as quickly as he can. It does mean that the series likely won't start on November 2nd. It will probably start on a bit closer to the middle of November, probably around the 14th, 16th, something like that. One, to give Steve enough time to put together the level 10 database, and two, because I want to give as much time as humanly possible to our Hamburg series that we're going to be doing in the beta save. I'd like to get them back into the Bundesliga. I'd like to get them into European football. I'd like to have them challenging Bayern to try and knock them off and beat them to a league title. But achieving some of those goals, it'll be difficult trying to do that in that 2-week beta window. So what I want to do is extend it out, make it like a month-long series, commit to wearing that bloody... Actually, I've actually got a bit of a treat for you here. 1 second. So there you go, the hamburger costume has rocked up. This is just a sneak peek at the moment, but the rest of it is here. It's sitting over there staring me in the face every time I turn to my left. So I want to give that series as much space to breathe as I can. Try and accomplish a lot of the things that I want to do with that series, commit to wearing the hamburger costume for a full month and make that one as good as possible and give it like a sufficient conclusion, even though the full game will have released at that point. So we should expect to see the first #United video around the 16th of November, but I'll keep you guys up to date with future videos closer to the release of that game. We've also engaged a couple of different designers to help out with the content, be it graphics or thumbnails or things like that. One phenomenal artist and animator is a guy named Rick at How Many Triangles. You can see the link to his Twitter here. It will be in the description below as well. Creates some phenomenal content in terms of like YouTube introductions, graphics, things like that. He's done work for your FIFA leagues, for the graphics for their website. He did the introduction video for the Thames FC series for Dr. Benji. He's got some phenomenal and I think hilarious works up on his Twitter account and available to order through Redbubble. Please go and check him out. And he has been kind enough to design an introduction video for our #United series. So hopefully the production level is going to increase. I've bought a new desk, I've bought the correct lighting, I'm trying to integrate the green screen more. A lot of things that I spoke about in the channel plans video in terms of like integrating skits and vignettes and whatever else into the content should hopefully come through in this series as well. And by having a professionally done introduction, by having a better quality camera, by committing to stupid things like wearing costumes from beta saves, things like that. Hopefully the content will improve a lot. You guys will get more out of it. I'll enjoy doing it more, and the channel will continue to succeed and continue to grow and continue to be what has been a phenomenal journey so far. So that's pretty much it for me. I'm really looking forward to working with #United. Really looking forward to actually getting the game started. I've never been as excited for a game as I have been for Football Manager 2019 and when it's going to actually release. I hope you guys are enjoying the build up to the release of that game as well. If you have any feedback, things that you want to see on the channel, please put them in the comment section below. I will integrate them into these series. I will integrate them into the Hamburg beta save. I will integrate it into the #United full save series because I want this to be content not just that I want to make, but that you guys want to watch as well. If you have your own ideas for saves that you want to do once the game is released, please put it in the comment section below. I will respond to every single comment I get building up to the release of that game. You can follow In The Mixer on Twitter, there will be a link in the description. But more than anything though, thank you so much for watching, I really do appreciate the view, and I'll see you guys again in the mixer.